listen. I hurt lately. Don't worry. What?
Deformities.
Oh my god.
Bomb spoiler warning. Grafted's ending isn't just shocking, it's a lie. Buckle up, because this breakdown will rewrite everything you thought you knew. The film begins with a scientist and his daughter, Wei, both bearing strange marks on their faces that diminish their beauty. The scientist has set up a lab at home, conducting experiments for a long time. Meanwhile, Wei is drawing a picture of a special flower called a crop flower. Her father explains that this flower holds immense healing power and grows only occasionally in the depths of the jungle. He reveals that he has used the flower in his experiments multiple times. Eventually, the scientist succeeds in creating a serum that can conceal the mark on his face. The serum he develops has the ability to merge the tissues of two objects. To test it, he cuts a piece of skin, applies a chemical to it, and sticks it to his face. The skin starts to grow and regenerate, slowly covering his mouth and wounds. However, things take a terrifying turn. The new skin spreads uncontrollably, covering his mouth, eyes, and nose. In fear, the scientist tries to cut away the spreading skin, but it keeps reattaching itself. Overwhelmed and terrified, Wei panics and, in a tragic accident, stabs her father, killing him. Time passes, and Wei continues her studies, excelling academically like her father. She earns a scholarship to a prestigious university in the US and moves in with her aunt, where she shares a room with her cousin, Angie. Angie is unhappy about sharing her space. Wei sets up a small shrine in her room with her father's picture, treating him like a god and honoring his memory. She also continues working on her father's unfinished experiments using his old notes. On her first day at university, Wei encounters a homeless man with a disfigured face who helps her find her way. In class, her professor introduces her proudly, recognizing her perfect entry test score, a rare achievement. After class, Wei attempts to gather materials for her experiment, but is stopped by the professor, who offers her the position of lab assistant in exchange for access to the lab equipment. She agrees, determined to continue her father's research. The professor, intrigued by her research diary, learns of her father's genius, but also his failure to secure funding. Back at home, Angie's friends discover Wei's strange, blood-stained experimental tools and disturbing photos, leaving them scared. The next day, Wei tries to befriend Angie and her friends, but they mock her due to the mark on her face. Despite this, she treats them kindly and offers to share lunch. When they see her eating strangely, they leave her alone in the restaurant. Saddened, Wei gives her leftover food to the homeless man, who reassures her that she's beautiful despite her scar. Later, the professor offers to help Wei complete her father's research, and they begin working together. Despite their efforts, the experiments continue to fail, frustrating the professor, who considers abandoning the project. At this point, Angie's friend Alice joins as a lab assistant and apologizes to Wei for her earlier behavior. Wei notices a poster with an image of the same crop flower her father once used. Realizing its importance, she decides to obtain it. That night, Wei sneaks into a nearby exhibition and steals the flower. Back in the lab, she eagerly begins a new experiment using the flower's extract, unaware that the professor and Alice are secretly observing her. She cuts the skin on her foot and applies the serum enhanced with the flower's properties, setting the stage for the next phase of her father's unfinished work. The skin started to form again in that spot, astonishing the professor, who watched the phenomenon unfold through the window. Surprised, he quickly sent Alice away before approaching Wei, demanding to know what she was doing. Wei eagerly explained that their experiment with the flower serum had been successful. It was now working as they had hoped. As she showed the professor the regrowth of skin on her foot, Alice, watching from a distance, grew jealous and suspicious. She secretly took strange and unflattering photos of Wei before confronting her angrily. Dragging Wei away, Alice's sudden aggression left Wei frightened, and in her rush, she forgot her notebook in the lab. The professor, noticing the notebook left behind, was delighted. Meanwhile, Alice had already sent Wei's embarrassing photos to her cousin, Angie. When Angie saw the pictures, she became furious. In her anger, she destroyed many objects in their shared room as an act of retaliation against Wei. Upon returning, Wei was shocked and saddened by the state of the room. Before she could process the situation, Angie suddenly attacked her from behind. Wei, caught off guard, tried to defend herself, but Angie fought with full force, intent on killing her. Desperate, Wei grabbed a pen and, in the struggle, accidentally stabbed it into Angie's neck. The pen became lodged in her throat, and Angie collapsed, lifeless. Although Wei never intended to kill Angie, she now had no choice but to deal with the consequences. Terrified, she dragged Angie's body to the washroom, struggling with what to do next. Dark thoughts overtook her as she devised a chilling plan. She began cutting off Angie's skin. After peeling the skin from Angie's face, she injected her serum into it before pressing it against her own face. The tissues fused together, and Wei transformed to look exactly like Angie. That evening, Angie's mother returned home and, upon seeing Wei, mistook her for her daughter. She lovingly embraced her, and Wei realized she could fully assume Angie's identity. The next morning, she dressed in Angie's clothes and adopted her mannerisms. Arriving at the university, she experienced a new life, one filled with popularity, a loving mother, and even a boyfriend. It was a stark contrast to her dull and lonely existence as Wei. For the first time, a boy was close to her, making her feel special. However, during an intimate moment with Angie's boyfriend, something horrifying happened. The skin on Wei's face began peeling away. The sight was so disturbing that the boy panicked and fled. In his terror, he didn't notice the steep slope behind him and accidentally fell to his death. Shocked and horrified, Wei rushed home in desperation. She needed her father's notebook, the key to permanently fusing skin. Searching for the notebook, she realized it was missing. The professor had taken it and given it to a translator. With no other options, Wei injected herself with the remaining serum to reattach Angie's face. Meanwhile, the professor was searching for the rare flower that enabled their experiment. He soon received a call from the translator, warning that the experiment was incredibly dangerous and should be stopped immediately. But the professor ignored the warning, determined to push forward. Wei returned to the university to retrieve her father's notebook, but it was nowhere to be found. Frustrated, she called the professor, who smugly admitted he had it but refused to give it back. He planned to publish the research under his own name. Furious but powerless, Wei left quietly. Outside, she spotted Eve and discovered that she, too, was involved with the professor. Enraged, Wei decided to take her revenge on Eve. Pretending to be Angie, she invited Eve to her house. When Eve arrived, Wei attacked her in a fit of rage. A terrified Eve managed to escape to the garden, but Wei caught up to her and killed her using a drill machine. Afterward, she removed Eve's skin and wore it, transforming once again. She replicated Eve's hairstyle, clothing, and mannerisms to avoid suspicion that a neighbor's dog barked incessantly at the scene, drawing attention. Concerned, the neighbors called the police. However, when the officers arrived, they saw Eve casually standing in a towel and left without further inquiry. And with that, the story came to its chilling end. Think you could survive Grafted's world? Tag a friend who'd fail miserably. Winking face, don't forget to subscribe, unless you're scared of the truth. Thanks for watching.